I'm a rich widow on my second marriage. Yes, second apparently. I don't just attract men, I outlast them. And if that sounds ominous, don't worry, it gets worse. 3 years after my husband died, I met someone who made me believe romance hadn't completely expired for me yet. My driver, tall, fit, polite, top-tier university degree, with the emotional range of a professionally trained customer service agent who remembered my coffee order, opened doors, and apologized even when I stepped on his own foot, which in hindsight made him perfect in a way that should have worried me. We dated for over a year, and right before New Year he asked me to visit his hometown to meet his family. And since I had no family left, I agreed, expecting warmth or healing, only to arrive at a place so remote even Google Maps hesitated. Where my Range Rover gave up halfway up the mountain and we walked the rest. And when I saw his house, a leaning wooden structure darkened by age and bad decisions, chickens and ducks running around like they owned equity, manure spread so evenly, it looked intentional. And a bathroom that was literally a hole in the ground, I forgave every hotel I'd ever complained about, remembering I grew up poor once but had forgotten people still lived like this on purpose. My boyfriend didn't know how rich I really was. He knew about my villa and my stakes in 2 5-star hotels. Thought I was merely comfortable, which was intentional because men behave better when they think they still matter financially, and the moment his mother saw me, her eyes scanned me like an IRS audit, took in my pearl earrings and manicured nails, diagnosed my divorce like a terminal illness, accused me of being after her son's money, and then, without tea or a seat, pointed Emmy to the kitchen to cook for the entire family, reminding me that feminism apparently stops working once you cross the county line. My boyfriend whispered that I should just endure it once for him, as if humiliation were a bonding exercise. And I nodded because I'm excellent at nodding before disasters, while relatives poured in, brothers, cousins, neighbors, one man, commenting on my body within 5 seconds as my boyfriend stared at the floor like it had suddenly become fascinating. Until someone finally asked about money, not how are you or welcome, just money. Specifically how much engagement money I expected. And when I calmly said about $80,000, there was silence followed by chaos. His mother screaming like I demanded a kidney, villagers whispering that a divorced woman shouldn't ask for that much. That I was older than him, that I'd take the money and disappear. And I stood there marveling at how people with no assets were so confident managing mine while my boyfriend said nothing. Which is when I realized that in the city he was humble and obedient, but here, surrounded by his people, he was relaxed and comfortable like a man finally home in his true personality. Things escalated when his cousins spotted my car and ran down the mountain shouting, and once he admitted the Range Rover was mine and someone said it cost about $120,000, his mother's anger vanished instantly because greed has a very short memory, and she grabbed his arm insisting I sell my villa, abandon meaningless city life, enjoy healthier village air, and let her help manage the money. Apparently oxygen works better when it's free and comes with control. While through the thin wooden walls I listened as they planned my future like a group project I never signed up for. Debating interest rates, monthly returns, who needed $500,000 or $300,000, and even suggesting that if I didn't want children, accidents happened because once I had one half my assets would legally belong to him anyway, and my boyfriend didn't interrupt, just looked thoughtful like a man evaluating a retirement plan, teaching me that silence isn't neutrality but agreement with better posture. In the kitchen, his sister-in-law chopped chicken with alarming calm before cracking open 2 batteries and pouring black powder into the soup, telling me it was manganese dioxide and graphite that made people slow and compliant over time and that they'd fed it to her for months after she married in, smiling faintly as she said they already thought I was stupid, so even if I spoke no one would believe me. Which was the nicest thing anyone said to me all day, so I poured oil on the firewood and lit a match, the flames spreading instantly as if the house had been waiting for permission. The soup boiling black and violent while people were still counting my money until someone screamed and buckets appeared, because buckets always appear when people don't understand physics, as the fire raced from house to house, his mother pointing and screaming that I was a curse who killed parents and men. And instead of arguing, I picked up a stool and smashed it into her head. Discovering rage isn't heavy when it's earned, then walked down the mountain without running because running suggests regret. Hours later, my phone turned back on to dozens of missed calls and panicked friends warning me never to return to places like that. Which I agreed with because some experiences are 1 star for a reason. Then his name appeared and I answered once. As he yelled about searching everywhere until I calmly noted his voice was loud and he'd never spoken to me like that before. Prompting an immediate apology thanks to powerful muscle memory. After which I told him we were done and hung up. Only for him to show up days later at my villa with relatives who couldn't get past the gate while he could. And I opened the door in silk sleepwear with another man behind me, watching my ex freeze and his face collapse in a way that made heartbreak feel educational. Which is when I decided that if he wanted my life so badly, I'd give him a role and married him legally. Because marriage is extremely useful when you want someone exactly where you can see them. 10 days later, I sent his entire family on an all-expenses-paid overseas trip, first-class flights, luxury hotels, full itinerary, and they never came back. Scammed, trafficked, gone. Their bodies found a year later, and when he tried to kill me in a car accident and failed, losing his legs instead, I considered it efficient and collected generous insurance. And when he died 3 years later, I kept both death certificates because I like souvenirs with closure. And when a 22-year-old knocked on my door to apply as my new driver, looking shy, clean and hopeful, still believing kindness meant safety, I smiled and hired him. Because new beginnings are always beautiful, and people who mistake silence for stupidity usually end up funding someone else's lifestyle.